If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns, once again, find themselves at the center of a quarterback controversy, and this time it's not even about who's starting. It's about who's practicing. The latest storm brewing around the team has everything to do with how head coach Kevin Stefanski and his staff are managing their rookie quarterbacks, particularly Shedeur Sanders, son of the legendary Deion "Primetime" Sanders. While most teams would be excited to see what kind of potential a fifth-round quarterback with that kind of pedigree might bring, the Browns seem content keeping him on the sidelines during crucial practice reps. And this has analysts, fans, and even former players scratching their heads, wondering if Cleveland might be setting itself up for yet another chapter in its long history of quarterback mismanagement. Let's set the scene. The Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel, the left-handed, quick-footed quarterback out of Oklahoma, in the third round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Just 2 rounds later, they grabbed Shedeur Sanders, whose college career at Colorado was one of the most scrutinized and talked about in recent memory. The expectation, at least from the outside, was that Cleveland had just set itself up for a fierce but healthy competition. 2 promising young quarterbacks battling it out for the right to be the franchise's future. But according to multiple reports and insider accounts, that's not what's happening at all. Instead, the Browns have made it clear that Gabriel will be getting all of the first-team reps in practice, leaving Sanders to watch from the sidelines, relegated to scout teamwork and low-priority drills. At first glance, that might sound like standard operating procedure. After all, NFL teams often prioritize one rookie over another when it comes to development, especially if one was drafted higher. Stefanski's reasoning seems logical on paper. He reportedly believes that splitting first-team reps between 2 rookies would dilute the development process for both, leaving each underprepared for real game action. In that sense, the Browns are simply investing in the player they view as having the higher upside or being more NFL-ready at this stage. But that explanation didn't sit well with everyone, especially with local analyst Tony Rizzo, who absolutely unloaded on the organization for what he described as a failure to properly coach and develop their young talent. Rizzo's rant was nothing short of explosive. In a passionate tirade on his show, he questioned whether the Browns were even doing their jobs when it came to player development. "Let's just see how bad it could be," he said, his voice rising with disbelief. "Are they that afraid that Sanders is going to take 7 sacks? Who is coaching this kid for 10 weeks? Is he getting coached? Is he getting developed? Apparently not. They're not even giving him first-team reps. It's a joke. It's your job to develop these kids. I don't give a s*** where he was drafted." Those words struck a chord with many fans who have watched Cleveland's carousel of quarterbacks spin year after year with little success. The frustration in Rizzo's voice mirrored what much of the fan base feels, that the Browns, a team perpetually searching for consistency under center, are once again mishandling their young talent. And when you look at the Browns' recent history, it's hard not to sympathize with that viewpoint. This is a franchise that has drafted more quarterbacks than any other team in the past 2 decades, yet still struggles to find long-term stability. Whether it was the failed experiments with Johnny Manziel, DeShone Kizer, or the roller coaster era of Baker Mayfield, Cleveland's approach to developing quarterbacks has always seemed disjointed. Each new regime promises a new philosophy, a new plan, a new commitment to building the right way, and yet, the results rarely change. Now, it feels like the Browns might be making the same mistake again by putting all their developmental eggs in one basket, while leaving another talented player on the shelf. The counterargument, of course, is that Stefanski and his staff know what they're doing. Gabriel, by all accounts, has shown strong leadership, accuracy, and poise in practice. His college career was built on quick decision-making and rhythm passing, traits that translate well to the NFL. The Browns see him as someone who could grow into the role of a system quarterback, reliable, efficient, and safe. Sanders, meanwhile, is viewed as more of a long-term project. While his talent is undeniable, his arm strength, pocket awareness, and confidence all stand out. He comes from a college offense that leaned heavily on improvisation, and there are questions about how that style will translate against NFL-level defenses. In short, the Browns see Gabriel as ready to learn the system now, while Sanders needs more seasoning before being trusted with meaningful reps. But here's where the problem lies. How can a quarterback gets seasoning if he's not actually cooking. You can't learn to handle the pressure of an NFL huddle or adjust to the speed of elite defenses by standing on the sideline, holding a clipboard. You learn by doing, by taking snaps, reading coverages, and making mistakes. That's how young quarterbacks grow. And when a team with as rocky a quarterback history as the Browns decides to withhold that opportunity from a promising rookie, it's hard not to see it as another example of poor long-term planning. Sanders isn't just any fifth-round pick. He's a player who came into the league with national attention, a massive social media following, and the pedigree of a football family. That alone puts added pressure on the Browns to at least show that they're investing in his development. The optics of this situation are tough for the organization. Every week that Sanders doesn't get meaningful practice time, questions grow louder about his future in Cleveland. Fans are already starting to wonder, if the team doesn't trust him enough to even compete in practice, why draft him at all? Was it just a publicity move, a way to generate buzz by taking Deion Sanders' son? Or did they genuinely believe in his potential but lose faith too quickly? These are uncomfortable questions for a franchise that's trying to shed its reputation as one of the league's most chaotic operations. Stefanski may argue that this is all part of a disciplined, structured approach to quarterback development, but public perception often outweighs internal logic, especially when the team's offense struggles on Sundays. It's also worth noting that the dynamics between Gabriel and Sanders could become a storyline in itself. Both rookies are young, ambitious, and eager to prove they belong. But when one consistently gets all the first-team work and the other is sidelined, that balance can shift into frustration and tension. In the modern NFL, where players have platforms and fan bases of their own, it doesn't take much for a brewing locker room issue to become a full-blown media circus. If Sanders' camp starts to feel like he's being iced out or unfairly limited, it could create an unnecessary distraction for a team already under pressure to win. Still, the Browns insist that patience is key. They view this as a marathon, not a sprint. Their goal, according to team insiders, is to let Gabriel take the bulk of the development load early in the season while Sanders learns from the sidelines. If Gabriel struggles, or if injuries strike, Sanders will be next in line, presumably with a better understanding of the playbook and system by then. It's a calculated risk, one that could pay off if Gabriel blossoms into a solid starter. But it's also a gamble that could backfire if Sanders feels underdeveloped or disconnected when his number eventually gets called. In truth, both sides of this debate have merit. On one hand, Stefanski's decision is pragmatic and rooted in a clear developmental philosophy. You can't have two rookies splitting first-team snaps and expect coherent results. The offense needs rhythm, timing, and leadership, and that can only come from consistency at quarterback. On the other hand, Rizzo's fiery criticism speaks to a broader frustration that many share, that the Browns too often play it safe when they should be thinking ahead. Developing quarterbacks isn't just about who's ready now. It's about investing in who could be ready next. And if you don't give players like Shedeur Sanders the reps and resources they need to grow, you'll never truly know what you have. As the season continues, this situation will remain under a microscope. Every practice report, every press conference, every minor injury could shift the balance between Gabriel and Sanders. And make no mistake, Sanders' opportunity will come eventually. It always does in the NFL. Whether it's through injury, poor play, or late-season experimentation, backup quarterbacks inevitably get their shot. The question is, when that moment arrives, will Sanders be ready? Or will the Browns have wasted valuable developmental time that could have prepared him for it? For now, all anyone can do is speculate. The Browns are sticking to their plan. Rizzo and other analysts are holding their feet to the fire, and fans are left hoping that this isn't just another chapter in the endless saga of Cleveland's quarterback woes. But one thing's for sure, this story isn't going away anytime soon. The Browns might believe they're doing the right thing by protecting Sanders and prioritizing Gabriel. But in a league where opportunity is everything, sometimes the biggest mistake a team can make is not letting talent prove itself. And if history has taught Cleveland anything, it's that the next great quarterback might be sitting right there on the sideline, waiting for a chance that never comes. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Alright guys, let's get into this because the vibe coming out of Cleveland right now is absolutely electric, and not in the good way. There's something brewing inside the Browns locker room, something that's got players whispering, coaches pacing, and Kevin Stefanski doing his best to keep it all under wraps. You can feel it when they walk onto the field. You can see it in the way the cameras catch those sideline moments. The Brown stars are clashing, tempers are flaring, and now the head coach is caught right in the middle, trying to hold everything together before the whole thing goes up in smoke. What we're hearing is that a heated exchange broke out between two of the team's biggest names during practice earlier this week. It wasn't just a small disagreement over a blown play or a missed read. This was emotional, loud, and reportedly personal. Sources close to the team have described it as one of the most intense confrontations they've seen since Stefanski took over in 2020. The tension apparently spilled over after days of mounting frustration following the Browns' uneven performances, and it reached a boiling point right there in front of coaches, teammates, and even a few media members who happened to catch a glimpse. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Kevin Stefanski, the man known for his calm, collected demeanor, the guy who never seems to lose his composure, was forced to step in, not once but twice, to separate the players and bring things back to order. Those who know Stefanski say he's a firm believer in leadership through control and poise. He's not the type to start yelling or throwing clipboards around. But this time, it looks like even he couldn't avoid getting dragged into the emotional chaos. Insiders are saying Stefanski called an immediate team meeting after practice, shutting the doors and addressing the entire locker room. No assistants, no PR staff, just players and coaches. That right there tells you everything. When a coach locks the doors like that, it's not about play calling or scheming. It's about trust. It's about accountability. It's about the kind of fractures that can tear a locker room apart if they're not fixed fast. Stefanski's message, according to people who were there, was clear. This team has too much talent, too much potential, to let egos derail what they've been building. And make no mistake, he's right. The Browns have one of the most stacked rosters in the AFC right now. On paper, they can beat anybody. But as we've seen time and time again in the NFL, chemistry is everything. You can have stars all over the field, but if they're not in sync, if they're not united behind the same vision, it all crumbles. And that's what Stefanski's trying to prevent. But here's the thing. When a coach has to put out fires mid-season, it usually means those fires have been smoldering for a while. This wasn't some spontaneous blow-up. This has roots, probably going back to the summer workouts or even last season's frustrations. Players remember things. Little moments. Words exchanged in the heat of the game. Promises made and not kept. It adds up. And you've got to wonder, how much of this is tied to the offensive inconsistency we've seen lately? The Browns' defense has been doing its job, but offensively, there's been a disconnect. Some of the play calls have been questioned, some of the execution has been flat out off, and there's been quiet murmuring about certain players feeling like they're not getting the ball enough. That's always the spark. It's not just about football. It's about status, about recognition, about who gets to be the face of the franchise when the cameras roll. When you've got elite-level competitors sharing the same locker room, it doesn't take much to light the fuse. Stefanski knows this better than anyone. He came up through the Vikings organization, spending over a decade learning how to manage personalities, how to smooth over egos, while keeping the team focused on the goal. He saw it firsthand with guys like Stefon Diggs and Adam Thielen back in the day, two incredible receivers who sometimes found themselves fighting for targets and attention. So when you hear that Kevin Stefanski is trying to put out fires in Cleveland right now, don't think of it as panic. Think of it as experience. He's been here before. He understands that part of being an NFL head coach isn't just about drawing up plays. It's about managing emotions, guiding human beings who are under an enormous amount of pressure. Every Sunday, these guys put their bodies and reputations on the line. Every mistake gets dissected by fans, by media, by us. And when those mistakes start to pile up, frustration turns inward. You start blaming teammates. You start pointing fingers. You start questioning leadership. And that's when the real test begins, not on the field, but in the meeting room. In those quiet conversations behind closed doors where coaches and players decide what kind of team they really want to be. Now, word is Stefanski has been walking a fine line lately. On one side, he's got to hold his stars accountable. You can't let big names act out or challenge authority without consequences. But on the other hand, you can't alienate them either. You can't risk losing the locker room. Players today are more vocal, more aware of their value, and they're not afraid to speak out if they feel disrespected or unheard. So Stefanski's approach has been measured, firm but empathetic. He's reportedly met one-on-one with each of the players involved in the altercation, trying to get their perspectives, trying to rebuild that line of trust. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about smoothing things over for the cameras. It's about making sure those guys are ready to fight for each other on Sunday. But here's the whisper that's starting to circle around the league. Some people are wondering if Stefanski's message is still getting through. When a team starts having public tension like this, when reporters start hearing about heated exchanges and internal meetings, it usually means something deeper is off. Maybe it's a leadership void in the locker room. Maybe the veterans aren't keeping things in check. Maybe certain players have started tuning out the coaching staff. And when that happens, it's not easy to reel it back in. The Browns are at a crossroads. They're still very much in playoff contention, still capable of turning this season into something special. But if this kind of internal drama keeps leaking out, it could derail everything they've built. Think about the pressure Stefanski is under. This is Cleveland, a city that's been starving for consistency in football for decades. They've gone through coaches, quarterbacks, rebuilds, heartbreaks. And for a while, it looked like Stefanski was the guy who finally brought some stability. That 2020 season felt like a turning point. But since then, the Browns have been living in this weird limbo between promise and frustration. Injuries, suspensions, inconsistency. It's been a roller coaster. And now, with emotions running high and rumors flying, Stefanski's leadership is being tested like never before. Some say this is his defining moment. How he handles this situation could very well determine not just how the Browns finish the season, but whether he remains the guy leading them into the future. Players, meanwhile, are reportedly divided. Some are backing the coach, praising his composure, and saying he's doing everything possible to keep things professional. Others, though, have quietly hinted that certain stars are being given special treatment, that accountability isn't being enforced evenly. That's the kind of perception that can poison a locker room if it's not addressed. You can feel that tension when they talk to the media, those short, clipped answers, those forced smiles. Nobody wants to say too much, but everybody knows something's going on. And when that energy starts spilling over into games, missed assignments, mental errors, frustration penalties, that's when it becomes visible to the world. Stefanski's challenge right now isn't just tactical. It's psychological. He's got to convince every player in that locker room that they're still united, that they're still fighting for the same goal, even when emotions are boiling over. And it's not easy. The NFL is a pressure cooker. You've got 20-something athletes, multi-million-dollar contracts, national attention, and a fan base that lives and dies with every play. Add a couple of disappointing results into that mix, and suddenly the smallest spark can become a full-blown blaze. Stefanski's trying to douse it before it spreads, but you can tell this is a pivotal moment. Behind the scenes, sources say the front office is fully backing Stefanski. They believe in his process. They believe in his culture-first approach. But they're watching closely. They know how fast things can unravel in this league. One more public confrontation, one more bad headline, and the noise could get deafening. You can already hear it on talk radio, on podcasts, on social media. Fans asking if this team is still bought in, if the coach still has control. That's the narrative Stefanski's fighting right now, even more than the opposing defenses on Sunday. Still, if there's one thing you can say about Kevin Stefanski, it's that he's resilient. He's been through this grind before, seen the highs and lows of NFL life. He's not panicking. In fact, those who know him best say he's using this as a rallying point, a way to bring the team closer together. He's challenging his leaders to step up, to take ownership, to be the ones setting the tone. Because at the end of the day, a locker room polices itself. Coaches can guide, but players have to buy in. They've got to choose unity over ego, teamwork over personal pride. So as the Browns prepare for another crucial matchup this weekend, all eyes are on how they respond. Will this be the spark that ignites a turnaround, or the first sign of a deeper implosion? Nobody knows yet, but one thing's certain, Stefanski's got his hands full. He's walking that delicate line between discipline and diplomacy, trying to remind his team that the only way forward is together. The question is, are they listening? Because if they are, this could become one of those turning point stories you look back on months from now and say, that's where they figured it out. But if they're not, well, the fire he's trying to put out could be the one that burns the season down. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!